The week of April 6 on Days of Our Lives may not just push Salem forward, it may completely shake the emotional balance of several major storylines at once. So let's break it all down, because this upcoming week may be less about one big twist, and more about several emotional explosions building at the same time. Let's start with Gabby and Philip, because this relationship may be moving into much more serious territory now. Up to this point, there has been something temporary about them. Their connection has felt passionate, but also a little borrowed, built in hotel rooms, private moments, and spaces that never truly belonged to them. That is why the idea of Philip finding a new apartment matters so much. This is not just about convenience. It may be the first sign that he wants to give this relationship a real foundation. And for Gabby, that could mean more than romance. A private home with Philip may represent stability, control, and a chance to build something that feels separate from the constant chaos of Salem. It may give her a sense of safety that she has not fully had in this relationship yet. On the surface, that makes this look like a major step forward. But the timing may be far from ideal. Because the closer Gabby gets to Philip, the harder it may become to ignore the guilt still hanging over her. She helped Tony sabotage the Titan-Demera merger, and that decision helped push Titan into the crisis it is facing now. So while she may be moving into a new chapter with Philip emotionally, she may also be carrying the weight of knowing she played a role in hurting the world he comes from. The romance may be growing stronger, but so is the risk. If Titan's situation gets worse, Gabby may no longer be able to keep love and guilt in separate boxes. And if Philip begins building a future with someone connected to the very damage threatening his family's empire, this relationship could become much more complicated than either of them expected. So yes, this move may bring them closer. But it may also bring the pressure closer too. Now let's talk about Titan, because this may be the storyline that turns truly dangerous in the week ahead. Johnny rejecting Kate's settlement already told us this mess was not going to be resolved easily. Titan was not handed a clean way out, and that meant the people in charge were always going to start making riskier choices. That brings us to Xander, and what may be one of the most reckless decisions in this entire storyline. Moving $5 million of apparently dirty money into Titan's legitimate finances is not a clever shortcut. It is the kind of move that can trigger a full-scale collapse if anyone starts looking too closely. That is what makes this so explosive. Xander may believe he is making a tough but necessary call. He may think this is the only way to protect the company and keep everything standing. But on soaps, the moment someone becomes too confident that their tracks are covered, that usually means the danger is already growing behind the scenes. And if Titan's books come under scrutiny, this could stop being just a business crisis. It could become a scandal, a legal threat, a public disaster that damages the Kuriaki's name far beyond the boardroom. Suddenly, this is not only about missing money or bad decisions, it is about whether the entire family legacy starts falling apart because one desperate gamble went too far. If these schemes fail, the Kuriaki's estate itself could be at risk. That raises the emotional stakes immediately. This is no longer abstract financial drama. This becomes personal. It becomes about home, power, inheritance, and the possibility that one dangerous choice could strip the family of something deeply symbolic. So while Xander may see himself as Titan's protector, he may actually be setting the stage for its worst downfall yet. And that is what makes this storyline feel so tense. The man trying to save the company may be the one who buries it. Then there is Shawn and Jada, and this may be one of the week's quieter stories on the surface, but also one of the most emotionally loaded. Shawn moving into Jada's place can easily be explained in practical terms. He is injured, he needs help, Jada is willing to be there for him. On paper, that sounds simple enough. But in Salem, Putting two people with chemistry under the same roof is rarely just about convenience. When someone is recovering, their defenses tend to drop. They are more vulnerable, more dependent, and often more emotionally exposed than usual. Add that to the kind of connection Shawn and Jada already seem to share, and even small moments can start to mean much more than they should. A caring gesture, a quiet check-in, a look that lingers a second too long. That is often how these relationships shift from possibility into something much harder to deny. Jada taking care of Shawn may strengthen their bond in ways neither of them can easily dismiss anymore. What once may have felt manageable or unspoken could begin to feel much more real once they are sharing the same space day after day. That kind of closeness tends to expose feelings people were still trying to control. And once that emotional line starts to blur, the fallout can spread quickly. Because this is not just about Shawn and Jada growing closer. It is about what happens to everything around them when that closeness becomes obvious. Other relationships may start to weaken. Old emotional ties may feel less secure. And what begins as a recovery arrangement may slowly become the foundation for a much bigger romantic complication. So this story may not explode immediately. But it absolutely feels like the kind of setup that is preparing something deeper, messier, and much harder to stop. Then we come to what may be the most powerful emotional story of the week, Lexi. If Theo is the one who discovers the truth about Lexi's survival and brings that news to Abe, this may become far more than a shocking reveal. It may become the kind of moment that instantly changes the emotional temperature of multiple relationships at once. Because Lexi's return is not simply about a miracle. It is about everything that had to be hidden to keep that miracle secret. Lexi opening her eyes may be the part that sounds hopeful. It may even feel impossible in the best way. But on days, the emotional fallout after a miracle is often more complicated than the miracle itself. And in this case, the real damage may begin the moment Abe realizes how much was kept from him. He will not just be reacting to Lexi being alive. He may be forced to process the pain of learning that Paulina knew something this massive and chose not to tell him. That kind of secrecy does not stay in the category of good intentions for long. Once the truth comes out, it starts to look like betrayal, especially when the secret involves someone Abe once loved so deeply. Paulina may believe she had reasons. She may try to explain why the silence was necessary. But once Abe is hit with the full reality of what was hidden, those reasons may not be enough to soften the blow. And Theo could be pulled into the middle of all of it, forced to carry the emotional shock of Lexi's return while also watching his family fracture under the truth. So this may not be just a reunion story. It may be a reckoning. And if that happens, Lexi's return may do more than bring tears. It may permanently reshape the trust between Abe, Paulina, and everyone caught in the aftermath. And finally, there is the storyline that may become the week's most dangerous emotional mix: Brady, Sarah, Kristen, and Sophia. Brady and Sarah growing closer makes sense under pressure. Stress has a way of lowering emotional defenses, and when two people are both carrying heavy burdens, that kind of closeness can build fast. If they do end up in bed together, it may not be driven only by desire. It may come from exhaustion, vulnerability, and the need to escape everything closing in around them. But in Salem, emotional escape usually creates a new problem instead of solving the old one. And that is where Kristen changes everything. If Kristen is seriously moving toward some kind of alliance with Sophia, then this story may be entering much more dangerous territory. Sophia may think she is stepping into a smart arrangement. She may believe Kristen can help her gain some control or strike back where she feels cornered. But that kind of confidence would be a mistake. Because Kristen never makes a deal unless it gives her power. She looks for weakness, desperation, and instability, and Sophia may be giving her all three. That is what makes this setup so risky. Sophia may imagine she is becoming Kristen's partner, when in reality she may just be becoming another piece on Kristen's board. And that is where Brady becomes even more vulnerable. While he may be drifting into an emotionally messy connection with Sarah, Kristen may be building pressure from a completely different direction. One side of this story is personal and impulsive. The other is strategic and calculated. That combination is exactly what makes it feel so volatile. Because once Brady's private choices collide with whatever Kristen is planning, the fallout may hit from multiple angles at once. So this is not just a story about comfort, attraction, or revenge. It is a setup for emotional chaos, with Brady caught between a connection that may already be getting complicated and a manipulation game that could become much harder to control. So the week of April 6th may deliver much more than simple spoiler drama. Gabby and Philip may be building something real just as guilt threatens to poison it. Xander may be making a move that turns Titan's crisis into a full-blown disaster. Shawn and Jada may be getting closer in ways that no longer feel accidental. Lexi's return may blow open emotional wounds that Salem is nowhere near ready to face. And Brady may be stepping into comfort at exactly the moment Kristen starts setting another trap. And then, hanging over all of it, is Stefano's will. A reminder that another major Demera storm may still be waiting just around the corner. So what do you think happens first? Does Titan completely implode? Will Lexi's return destroy Abe and Paulina's trust? And is Sophia smart enough to realize Kristen may be using her before it is too late? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoy Deep Days of Our Lives breakdowns like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Salem spoilers and analysis.